Finding solutions through persistence trumps talent every time. You have to ask yourself, how far are you willing to go? What will you do to get there? Back in 2012, I came back from Alaska. I just finished up my fourth salmon season up there. It was already starting to beat me up physically a bit, so I was thinking about different types of employment. I was actually focused on culinary school. I've always enjoyed cooking. So I go to Portland, Oregon, and they've a pretty good school there. I go there because I know if I have a bad season, it is one of the best places to be homeless in the country. So as it turned out, I had just enough money for either rent or school with loans and stuff, of course. So I opted for school, found a nice place on the sidewalk, and got myself a storage unit. Going to these kind of schools, you have to dress pretty nice, keep everything clean. So the storage unit was actually mandatory, not just to hold my stuff while I go place to place, but at night I could take out like my sleeping bag, everything else, and become the guy on the streets. And at 6 a.m. I could show up when the storage unit opens, swap out, get my culinary stuff, and head to school. I started doing that by about like the maybe third week of school, second, third week. I got on with a pantry chef. So he was pretty cool. He was about the only guy that knew my situation. There's no need to advertise. I'd just show up in the morning. I'd help him, stock pantries. We'd get the stuff in, lay it out, vegetables in here, and sometimes the meat's in here. Always get the early morning deliveries. Nobody really got there for another hour or two, so I'd go play in the kitchen, either do prep work for class, play with something new, or just make breakfast if I wanted to. I had an open invite to use whatever is available in the fridge and everything else. Walk-in freezers. So virtually unlimited. As I was focused more towards the cooking aspect, I wanted to learn to do like meats and vegetables and stuff like this. Priorly, for years I'd done a lot of cooking, but it's been mostly with more baking than cooking. So it's been like a lot of cakes and sweets and breads and stuff like that. Albeit are good, I wanted to be more well rounded. So that was why I wanted to try this out. Not that I ever wanted to really open my own place or do something like that. Maybe to be a chef or a cook anyway. At one place would be nice, but not to actually own my own. The business end of the accounting and all is not something I've really ever looked at with any enthusiasm. Made it through T1 and learned a lot of stuff. I love the way the structure of the school was. They had it we worked with multiple different chefs. Like one was from Nepal and others from different areas. So it's all these different cooking styles intermingled together. Like the Nepalese chef especially, he would lay out like 20, 30 different herbs and spices and have you just try each one, and just totally different from the American chefs or Italian chefs. It's just a different approach. Because over where he grew up, you have big bags of spices. You just put your hand in, you smell them, maybe you taste them and say, oh, is it fresh? Or, oh, what is this? And it's like that. Over here, everything is in sealed containers for the most part. So it makes it a lot more challenging. Yeah, occasionally you can find bulk spice departments, but anyway, it was about half lecture and half hands-on, sort of like labs, except you're in the kitchen. So it was really good. It gave you real world expectations about what it would be like to actually be in a kitchen. And that's kind of the way they ran it. Not so much for the first term. Each term was about, I think, like 5 weeks, 5, 6 weeks. But it definitely in the second term, they ran it just like a kitchen. I remember we had this like line. It was just like a breakfast line at a regular restaurant would be. Sit there and, hey, okay, we got an order here. Okay, here's the order. All right, what is it? And you always rotate the roles. You get to be the sous chef sometimes. And, okay, I need this. Or maybe you're the menu writer who just creates the stuff. Or you're the guy on the line that's like, maybe you have like 5 or 10 egg pans or something, or like something else, and you're that guy, or you're the pancake guy, or whatever, you know. And you could just have to fire these off, rapid fire, like you were actually the cook itself. A lot of times we were encouraged to come up with our own dishes as well. So it, we had like specific guidelines in the first term, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna do this, and this. Here's the recipe. Here's kind of how you do it. You just make these little note cards, like little cheat things you can keep in your pocket for quick reference. Awesome. And also, they recommend keep a notepad on you, so in case you need to take notes. Maybe instructor says something at a random time, and all these useful things, useful learning tools. I made it about 3 months in. I didn't realize at the time that there were two different layers of courses. One was to teach you how to do the full business end and everything, and I didn't want that. The other was supposed to be primarily just to teach you how to cook. Unfortunately, I found even the one to teach you how to cook, toward the end of the second course or even the middle, it was you were itemizing to like the fraction of a penny on your menu. Like each individual item is like, what's a half teaspoon of salt? What's this? What's that? This herb, this, that. Everything was totally, accounted for. And it was, I just want to learn how to cook. And of course, this culinary, for anybody that's actually done it before, is well aware how stressful it can be. At the time, I had spent so many years just doing mindless labor and just trying to bury myself. And my idea going to work is I can get away from having to think and do this. So I was trying to break myself out of it. And I found I just was getting so stressed out. I couldn't take it anymore. Starting to have panic attacks, breakdowns. I just like was right at the practical at the very end of the second term, and it just snapped. It was too much pressure. We went in there, walked in, put all my stuff on the table, and they're like, "Go!" And then all these little things just all at once. Everybody's running around, highly competitive. There's only so many utensils and places to do things and stoves available, and you're expected just to jump in and kind of fight your way through and find a room, make it all happen. And it was just, I let myself start to get overwhelmed. And once you start to get unraveled and let it go, at least for me, it just snowballs downhill so fast. There's no coming back. And back then, it was just bad mentality. I let that failure get to me. The only way to truly fail is when you refuse to get back up and learn from it. And you sit there and dwell on it. And you just let it bring you down and ferment. That's what I did. So I just limped back to Arizona, went back to my flea market thing, and back to Alaska the next year. We all live and learn. Now, my mentality is so much better. Back then, remember, to succeed, all you have to do is get back up and try again. You have to have a goal. I thought I had a goal, but it wasn't a good enough one because I was just trying to fight to keep motivation going. That's not enough. You have to really want something, really want it, and eventually push past motivation into drive. That's how you succeed at something like this. That's where the persistence trumps talent because people with talent can go in and can be amazing cooks and get burned out, stressed out, and just drop off. But people without talent, if you put enough hours in, 10,000 hours to mastery, 50,000 to legacy. If you put the time, you put the effort, and have that mindset and the drive, the persistence, you will make it. You just have to keep getting up. How far are you willing to go? And what will you do to get there?